Hello, this is VJ again, and today I want to take you on a trip from Hayward to Yosemite. I've never flown to Yosemite, so this is a really exciting trip for me, and I think you'll agree that it turned out really well. So let's get started. Now, as we approach Yosemite, the first interesting thing we come to is off to the left here, that little body of water, and then that gray area just above that is Pine Mountain Lake. And that's the last airport coming in from the Bay Area before we reach Yosemite. You can see on this map, Pine Mountain Lake is in the blue circle and the Yosemite Village is in the purple circle. So this is kind of the last safe landing spot we've got before we get to Yosemite. And then you can see we've got another 30-40 miles to go before we get to the Yosemite area. Now, as we leave Pine Mountain Lake, the issue here that I'm seeing on the horizon is the clouds. I need to be at least 500 feet below the clouds. I'm roughly at about 10,000 feet here. Those clouds looked like they were going to be at the same level I was flying. So at this point I wasn't sure, and I needed to keep a close eye on that so that I give the right distance below the clouds there, but also enough distance above the ground to be safe. So that's getting squeezed on both sides. So here we are approaching the Yosemite Valley. You can see the river there off to the side in the valley. And again, here's the clouds, and at this point I can tell they are a bit higher than where I am. I've got the altitude there in the bottom right, so saying about 10,000. I think my altimeter was reading about 9,500. But the clouds at this point are looking like they are going to be well above me, and 9,500 is enough to give me a 1,000-foot clearance over any of the highest points at that part of the park that I'm flying. So that's fine. And at this point the anticipation is growing. I can start to see the valley there straight in the distance, just kind of off to the left of the nose. Starting to recognize some features, and it's starting to really get exciting. For this section of the video where we fly over Yosemite, I'm going to just let it play. I'm not going to cut it, so that you can really get a sense of that anticipation and excitement as you start to see more and more of the park and it becomes recognizable. So this is going to be about 4 or 5 minutes of footage straight from the park. One of the cool things about flying in here is just the ability to see the valley from a distance, and then it slowly gets bigger and more detailed the closer I get. Whereas when you come in a car, you'll come through the tunnel or come around the bend, and then boom, there it is, and you just get it kind of all at once. From the air here, I can start to see it from maybe 10-20 minutes away. And then the closer and closer I get, the more and more detail I can see. So that anticipation just really builds, and that was a unique experience for me, experiencing Yosemite this way. Right about here, those of you who have been to Yosemite can start to make out some of the features there in the valley. You've got El Capitan there, that big granite rock there just under the left main wheel. Uh, just to the left and, sorry, to the right and down of that is Bridal Veil Falls. And then up above El Capitan, a little bit to the right, there's Half Dome. And then we'll see Yosemite Falls come around after that. But this is just really a unique view. I've been to Yosemite many times, but I've seen pictures, certainly from the tunnel view. Those, again, who've been there, that's a very similar view, but not like this, where you can see all of the surrounding mountains and the forests all around Yosemite. So this is just really, really incredible. This is a still shot here that my father-in-law took. Awesome shot here again of Bridal Veil Falls there on the right, El Capitan on the left, and Half Dome in the upper middle. And this is a closer shot here of Bridal Veil Falls. For those who have seen the movie Free Solo, and if you aren't familiar with Yosemite, that big rock there just to the lower left of the left main wheel is El Capitan. So go check out Free Solo. Alex Honnold climbed that without any ropes. It's unbelievable. The altitude shown here by the GoPro also brought to mind a couple things. One good thing is that I seem to hold this altitude within, looks like plus or minus 50 feet the whole time through this flight, which is good. The possible bad news is that, from what I remember, my altimeter in the plane read 9,500, and that is what I was aiming for, because that's one of the allowed VFR routes. If you're flying east, you want an odd 1,000 plus 500. But clearly it's saying I'm at 10,000 now. It's to be expected that there's going to be some difference between the actual altitude and the measured altitude in the plane. But I'm seeing about 500 feet difference there. So that's just something really interesting, and I need to look at that some more next time and see if maybe I need to get a better, more recently updated altimeter setting from the last airport. For me, this is one of the most spectacular scenes from the whole video. Being able to see kind of Yosemite Falls and Half Dome all here in one shot is just really beautiful, and it's hard to take this in from many other spots other than from a plane. There's Yosemite Falls and Half Dome. I actually hiked to the top of Half Dome there. That was too easy for my brother, so he had to climb up the face. So that ends our flight over Yosemite. We're just passing over Yosemite Falls as I head back to the Bay Area. I have one more stop, we'll see, and then I'll show you the landing back at Hayward. So I hope you enjoyed this flight over Yosemite as much as I did. These videos were really incredible, and I'm so thankful that it worked out. My sister-in-law and brother live in Lathrop, California, in the housing development right here below the plane. Unfortunately, there's no airport for me to land on, but they were still able to say hi to us in their own really cool way. I'm often asked, how low can I fly? And the rule is that over a densely populated area, such as San Francisco or other big cities, you can go as low as 1,000 feet. But in less densely populated areas, which this is considered one of those, you can go to 500 feet. That's not really that safe, so I kept it to 900 to about 1,000 feet here. But that's still close enough to get a good view, and they could see us too. Here we are coming back into Hayward. That's the Southland Mall and the 880 freeway for those of you who are familiar with the Bay Area. And as they say in aviation, takeoffs are optional, but landings are mandatory. So it's always good to end a flight and a video with a landing. There's a couple things we'll look at here in just a minute, and I'll talk you through how this landing went. For any non-pilots out there, there are two runways here at Hayward. There's the larger one there you can see off to the left, which is 28 left, and I'm landing on 28 right. It's a little narrower and a little shorter, but still plenty of room, certainly for a small plane like what I've got here. This particular plane had a small issue with the rudder trim. It was actually trimmed a little bit too far left, so it looks like my plane is kind of pointed to the left, and that's actually the way it was flying. So I had to use a lot of right rudder to counteract that, and keeping the center line pretty well here, floated just a bit and came down, and then again if I let off the right rudder, it goes back to the left. So that was a minor thing that I was kind of fighting with the whole flight, but overall not a bad landing, and certainly a safe one here as we get back into the Hayward Airport. I'll just end with some more footage from Yosemite. This is really a spectacular trip. First of all, I'm so happy that it actually worked out. The clouds were a concern, and the technical term in aviation for those who aren't pilots is get-there-itis. There's just really a pressure to do something that you wanted to do. I flew an hour out there, and it would have been an hour back. So turning around, there was a pressure to do this, but you know, at any given time, the pilot has to be ready to divert or make another decision, even if that's difficult. So in this case, I'm thankful that it worked out and I was able to safely fly around Yosemite and see this incredible scenery. And so I hope you do get to see this for yourselves, but quite honestly, this video here is even better than what I saw from inside the plane. I can see a lot more from this view right here than I could from inside of the plane with all the obstacles in the way. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope to bring you more very soon. Thanks for watching.